Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the weekly class for today. In today's class, we are going to be discussing how to win more rounds on defense. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. I had to take off my headset because I was kind of bothering me. I'm going to put this a little bit higher. So how do we actually go about winning rounds on defense? Now there's three different types of, ideas that you want to kind of follow if you want to maximize your win rate in ranked, and that's what I'm going to go over today. So the first idea is going to be agent specific. Okay, so if you're on an agent that has a get out of jail card, okay, and agents that have get out of jail cards include agents like, let's say, Reyna, Jet, Waylay, Omen, right? So agents like that are agents that you can get out of bad positions easily, right? If you have an agent like that, right, and you're playing an agent like that, then this is going to be the first strat that we're going to try to use to maximize your defensive win rate. What is that? It's called taking space and inserting yourself early into the round. What this does is it gives your team early information. So I'll give you guys an example. We can start off, it can be anywhere, honestly. It could be down mid, it could be A, but I'll go ahead and give you guys a pretty solid example. C, okay? So once the barrier drops, what I like to do, a lot of times I'll play agents like, let's say, Waylay, or I'll play agents like Jet, Reyna, whatever the case may be. Once the barrier drops, I'm going to be shift walking up and I'm going to get into this corner. Now, you want to kind of limit this to at least every 3 or 4 rounds, because you don't want to be spamming this every single round, right? Because if you're spamming this and they catch you, right, you're going to die and they're going to start checking it, right? So what you want to do is you want to limit this. Limit it to around, every 2 or 3 rounds, and you don't want to just be spamming it left and right. However, you might ask the question, okay, so I need to limit it, but how do I even get from point A to point B without dying? Because what if they start running here, right? So there's actually 2 ways to go about this. Now the first way to go about this is when you're shift walking up, you have your volume all the way up, right? And you're going to be listening carefully. Typically, if these players here are shift walking too, then you're definitely going to be able to make into this corner before they even peek around the angle. But let's say that you're shift walking and you start hearing them full sprinting. In this scenario, you want to instantly turn around and you just want to get out. Notice how fast I was able to leave this situation, right? So I was shift walking, I hear them, and then I'm just instantly out, right? Instantly out. So this is one way to go about it. It's a little bit more riskier, but it does work a lot of the time, because if you don't hear them and you don't hear them making any noise, then you can essentially full commit to this and you can get into this corner, right? Now, once you're in this corner, you have so much information, right? If you don't hear anything C long, you can tell your teammates, don't hear anything C long, careful mid, careful A, and whoever else is with you on C, or if there was anybody lurking C or playing on C, they can leave, right? They can now give it up. Another way to actually scale this area is if you have a teammate or if you have a friend, you can tell your friend or your teammate, be like, all right, I need you to hold this angle for me, right? So if they have a sniper, if they have a vandal, whatever the case may be, they're just going to be deep, whether it's like up here, if they're on elevation, right, whatever the case may be, and they're going to be holding it for you. So that way you can shift walk up a little bit more peacefully and maybe still commit to this corner even if they end up taking a fight, because the first angle that they're going to be peeking into is this, right? And 9 out of 10 times, if they don't die right here, they're going to be fighting here, right? And they might not see you shift walking up into that corner. So that's number 1, right? Taking space, inserting yourself, very important. And so I'm just showing you guys some examples on C side, but in general, guys, every map has this, right? Almost every map has areas that you can insert yourself early for quick information, and this is definitely going to help you guys skyrocket the ranks, especially when it comes to defensive rounds, because you're just going to be winning them over and over and over again, especially if you're in lower elo, because most players don't know about this, right? They don't know about early info in the way that is being taught right now. Now that we've kind of discussed the 2 different ways to take early info and insert yourself here so that your team can rotate on C side, let's talk about how to actually get out of this situation, right? So first off, let's say that you are able to insert yourself here, right? And you're able to, let's say you're on Jet. I'll actually do like a whole thing on each agent. I mean, technically I could switch agents so that I can show you guys. So we'll start off with Omen, since I'm on Omen right now. So let's say I make it into this corner, right? And they are coming C. So I'm like, teammates, they're coming C, right? This is obviously a very power spot to be in. Now I have two options. Number one, I could peek like this and hold like this, which I would not recommend, because if you are able to make it into this corner, it's already under the assumption that nobody knows you're here, right? So there's a very low chance that they're going to clear it, right? So if you're already in this corner and then you hear them coming up, you want to just stay here and be quiet, right? They're going to come up here, most likely going to walk looking like this, right? Maybe they're going to skill looking like this, whatever the case may be. And your ideal move here is to trigger discipline, right? You're just going to wait patiently, get 1, 2 in your sights, maybe even 3, and then boom, 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 right? Once you get all 3, or once you get 2, whatever the case may be, right? Your next step should be to jiggle this close angle, okay? Jiggle and like shoot a couple bullets. Jiggle, shoot a couple bullets. The reason why you're doing this, right? The reason why after you get 1, 2, 3, you're not just insta-TPing away, is because you want to make sure that there's no one that's trying to peek into you, right? So that should always be your next step, is okay. You got 1, you got 2, you got 3, and then you're going to jiggle peek this angle. You're going to jiggle peek this angle, right? And then you can go ahead and drop your smoke here, and then you can instantly TP away, right? And by the way, you don't have to drop your smoke the way that I did very late, right? Once you're in this corner, you can already go ahead and drop your smoke if you hear them coming, right? Because they're not going to know where this smoke came from, right? They don't see where this smoke is flying in from. I'm pretty sure. I'm like 99% sure about that. And so you can just stand here and just go ahead and drop a smoke, right? And then you're just going to stay here. You're just going to stay here. And then they come in. They're not going to be looking at you. You get 1, 2, 3. And then again, you jiggle peek this, right? And then you can go ahead and you can TP away into your smoke and you can get out of there, right? So that is how you can get out of that situation if you're on Omen, right? Let's talk about Yoru now. Let's talk about Yoru. Okay, so swap teams, or not swap teams, end game phase, end round, blah, blah, blah. Okay, perfect. I think I'm good. I think we should be good. Yep. Okay, so let's talk about Yoru now. So how do you want to get away from Yoru? So if you're playing on Yoru, right, you want to already have your TP set beforehand, right? I'll already go ahead and throw my TP before the round starts, right? And then I'll go ahead and walk up, again into this corner, and then do the same exact thing, right? You wait for them to come up, 1, 2, 3, whatever the case may be, and then jiggle peek the deeper angle, and then you can TP out, right? So that is the safest way to do it if you're playing on a character like Yoru. However, there's even more variations that you can add to this to switch things up. For example, you could literally place your decoy here at the round start, and then you can come here, and then once you're like around this area, you can deploy it, and then you can get into this corner, right? And then right as you deploy and you get into this corner, someone's likely going to shoot it once they see it cross that angle. Once they shoot it, you can insta wide swing, and they're going to be full blind, and you can just boom, boom, kill 1 or 2, come back into this corner and TP away, right? So there's so many different variations, guys. The more you play around with this stuff in a custom game, the more it's going to kind of open your mind to like the different opportunities that you have with all these different agents to take that early space and get out alive. All right, now let's switch back. Let's switch to, let's say Jet. Let's go Jet. So how would we actually, all right, so how would we get out on what? No. All right, there we go. So how would we escape this place on Jet, right? So when it comes to Jet, it's a little bit different. You're going to come into this corner, right? Cool. Let me actually go ahead and do this real quick. All right, so once you're in this corner, you can go ahead and pop your dash, right? And so you get 1, 2, 3, you do the jiggle, you pop your dash, and you want to smoke for yourself first, and then you want to dash into your smoke if you want to get out, right? So if you want to get out, you want to make sure that you're dropping your smoke first and dashing into it, and then you get out in that manner. So again, you smoke first, you dash into it, and then you can smoke again if you need to get out, and you can just get out just like that, right? So that's how you do it, Jet. Now for the last one, we could talk about Reyna, but Reyna is very simple, right? You're in this corner, they come here, you get 1, 2, 3, you jiggle peek, and then you just use your dismiss, right? You use your dismiss to get out, right? So many different ways, so many different agents, so many different ways to go about it. And so this was something that I wanted to cover, right? Now I'm not going to go into depth on how to do it on each site because I'm not trying to make this a Haven specific guide. It's just like a defense specific guide. So I just want you guys to keep those topics in mind and actually use them, right? Because the more you use them, the, I don't know, the better your win rate's gonna be. All right, so anyways, let's talk about, what should we talk about now, chat? What should we talk about now? Let's talk about, oh yes, the second important thing. Now, the second important thing on defense to maximize your win rate is only going to be possible if there's 2 players playing on a site. Okay, so if, let's say, you have 2 players playing on A, right? And you guys are like, yeah, let's play on A, guys, let's play on A. The best way to start the round, right? Maybe it's a Sova and it's a Jet, right? The Sova can start here. He can throw his dart up here, right? Whatever the case may be, to try to delay them, right? Same thing with the Jet, right? Same concept applies. Try to get early space, right? Try to get early info, right? Maybe you come here, you shoot a shot, and then you back away because you see them, right? And then once you guys are forced to be back on the site, you have 2 options, right? You have the option of kind of just giving up the entire site and just playing full retake, right? But the other option is that you guys stay on the site, and this is where team play comes in, okay? Because what you guys can do to maximize your win rate is just play crossfires. If you both are gonna play on site, instead of playing in like weird scenarios where it's like, you know, one guy's playing back here and the other guy's playing over here, which allows the attacking team to isolate you guys, it's kind of better for you guys to just hold crossfires, right? Maybe you have one guy holding like this, and then you have one guy holding like this, right? And it doesn't even have to be, when it comes to crossfires, people are kind of mistaken. They think that you have to hold specifically like this. You could have this person holding like this, and then once someone walks out like this, he can help you trade, right? So the whole point of crossfires is to just make it easier on you guys, because you can trade each other much faster. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person has to be 24/7 holding for the crossfire, right? But always keep that concept in mind, guys. If you plan on playing backside anyways, or just playing on site on defense, try to, you know, start incorporating crossfires, because it's going to be very, very beneficial, especially if you kind of, you know how to do it properly. So there you go. So that's another thing. Now the final tip on defense, and this goes kind of back to characters that typically have a get out of jail card, but it's also kind of more, I guess, limited to characters like Waylay, Jet, and Omen, which is start using verticality to your advantage. Okay, now first things first, on defense, if you're on either Jet, Omen, or Waylay, you should already be using off angles to your advantage. What is an off angle? An off angle is essentially any angle on the map where the opponents do not expect you to be at. So for example, a good off angle, I would say, so let's say I'm the attackers, right? The attackers are coming here, right? They come here. Now the first angle they want to clear is like this, right? And so a good off angle would be like right here, right? Because they're not going to be hard clearing you because you're kind of standing at an off angle. They're going to be clearing for this deeper angle first, right? So then you get one and you dash away, right? Another good off angle would be maybe like right here, right? If you're playing here and the enemies are pushing up, they might not, they're not going to be pushing up aiming like here, right? They might come close to here, and then they might feel the need to clear like this. So if you're standing at a little bit of like an off angle, you might actually catch them off guard when they're walking up, right? You get them and then dash away, right? So another good off angle, for example, would be, I don't know, like you come here and you kind of just like stand back here, right? This is also considered an off angle. So again, an off angle is essentially any angle on the map where they don't expect you to be at. However, verticality makes the off angles 10 times better, because most of the time, even in higher elo, they're not going to expect you to be in places like this, right? Places like this, right? Places like this. This is a nice little off angle. This is also a good off angle if you stand on the edge of this, right? Because they can walk up, they most likely won't see you, most likely won't clear you. You get one and you can dash away, right? So there's so many, I guess, variations, so much verticality on so many different maps that it's very important that you guys actually use the verticality to your advantage and, just make it happen. Another example would be up here, right? Holding this off angle from up here. Boom, boom, boom. Holding down here, holding down here, holding up here. And then also seaside, right? Come over to seaside. You have some verticality over here. You can hold from up here, hold this, You can kind of updraft on this box, hold this, hold this, hold this. So many different off angles. So using verticality is very important, right? And you can also use verticality by using agents like what? Like Omen, Waylay, and Jet, right? Now, the important thing about using verticality, however, and you have to keep this in mind, is you don't want to treat it as a complete off angle itself. So you don't want to look at using verticality in general as full-on off angle. So what do I mean by that? For example, if you're up here and you're standing here, this is not an off angle, right? The reason why is because even if they might not fully expect you to be up there, you're still exposed to so many angles that it's so easy for them to kill you, right? So this would not necessarily be considered an off angle, because whether they expect you or not, they're most likely going to have a very easy time clearing you anyways, right? You want to make it difficult. So even when you're playing with verticality, you want to position yourself in a way that you're only exposed to one singular angle at a time, right? So for example, if I'm over here, I'm going to position myself like this, right? Now I'm isolating just this angle, and when they walk up, boom, and I can dash away, right? Or maybe if I want to isolate this window angle, I can isolate like this, right? So this is how you isolate different angles, right? You don't want to just be standing over here, right? This is bad, and a lot of players do this. Even in freaking Immortal rank, they do that. But it's much better to isolate fights like this, right? Same thing with the verticality on Seaside, right? Instead of just kind of standing in the open like this, try to isolate it like this. Look how much better this is, right? What are the odds that if they're running up and they don't see you here, why would they clear like this, right? They're gonna come up here and they're gonna be like, all right, let's clear like this, and then you're up here, boom, insta kill for you, right? So verticality, very important. The more you can abuse it, the better. I mean, just the more rounds you'll win, honestly. Very easy to abuse, very important. And the thing is, verticality can be used in any scenario, right? So people think that it's only going to be on these huge boxes and stuff, but no, even here you could use verticality to your advantage. Think about it, right? If I'm standing here, right, what are the odds that this player who's coming in here, right, he's clearing like this, whatever the case may be, he's going to be focused up here, right? But if I'm standing down here, right, I'm using verticality to my advantage, right? Or even if I'm standing here in this scenario, I'm technically still using verticality to my advantage, because he's going to be expecting more than likely, sorry, I'm like jumbling my words, but more than likely he's going to be expecting you to be over here, right? And instead you're down here. You see what I'm saying? So it's just much better for you in general. And let me think. So those are just some examples that you can use verticality to your advantage. And I think we've covered all three topics. So we've covered how to take space, right? How to get out of jail, the get out of jail free card, right? So how to take space, how to get out easily, what characters to do this on, right? And how it's very important to insert players in certain areas early on defense, so that way your team has a very easy time understanding where the enemies are going and how they can react accordingly. Then we talked about holding crossfires, where if the enemies are pushing up and you're forced to hold forced to stay on site, it's much better for you guys to just hold a crossfire instead of just kind of like, run backside and like just hide here or like hide there, whatever the case may be, right? And then lastly, we discussed verticality, right? How to use verticality to your advantage, how to use off angles to your advantage, and so on and so forth. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's weekly class. I know this one is a little bit of a shorter one, but hopefully the higher value pays off in the long run, and hopefully you guys can start winning tons of rounds. And that should be it.